The pace of AI can feel, well, dizzying. But if you actually step back and look at the sources we've been digging into, they're all pretty clear. 2025 was the tipping point.
It really was.
It was the year that open source accessibility finally truly met frontier model performance.
Yeah.
It just completely changed who holds the keys to the kingdom. All right, let's unpack this.
Right. Our mission today is to give you a concise, but, a really thorough understanding of the shift. We're analyzing a whole stack of sources, strategic reports, developer notes, investor summaries, that all chronicle the Qwen AI family's transformation.
And it was a huge transformation. They went from being seen as a strong challenger in late 2024
A very strong one, but still a challenge.
to the certified global open source leader by the end of 2025.
And the metrics behind that are just staggering.
They really are. This wasn't just a small iteration. They launched a whole new foundational architecture, moving from the Qwen 2 and 2.5 families to the completely revolutionary Qwen 3 and then Omni and Image.
And that new architecture, it's what allowed for this huge strategic expansion. We found one report that said in 2024, they had maybe 100 or so high-quality open-source models out there.
Which is already a lot.
It is. But by the end of 2025, that number had just exploded to over 300 models in active public use. That's tripling their output. They basically set a new standard for how fast you could deploy.
That speed is incredible. Let's start with the engine behind it all. The Qwen 3 revolution. For you, if you're trying to understand what made open source a genuine alternative to the big proprietary systems, what were the, say, 2 or 3 big technical leaps?
Okay, so the Qwen 3 revolution was really about tackling the two big historical weaknesses of open source models.
Right.
Context length and cost efficiency.
Right.
First and foremost, the sources all point to a massive, just generational improvement in long context handling. We're talking about context windows stretching up to 1 million tokens.
1 million tokens.
Yeah.
That's not just a long conversation. That's like feeding it an entire legal brief or a whole library of product manuals in one go.
Exactly. One white paper we saw called it the ultimate AI document reviewer, but that kind of capability usually comes with, astronomical computing costs.
And that's where the architecture comes in.
That's where it comes in. Qwen dramatically refined their mixture of experts, or MOE architecture.
I know MOE means bigger models where not every part is active at once, but it was still historically super expensive to run. How did they change that equation?
They introduced these really advanced, highly optimized routing algorithms. The key detail is that while the total parameter count went way up, giving you that frontier performance, the active parameter count for any single query stayed low.
So you get the smarts of a giant model without paying the full compute price every single time.
Precisely. That just slashed the total cost of ownership, the TCO, for anyone deploying it. And crucially, that refined MOE also made it way more accurate at things like tool calling.
So it could reliably run other systems, not just chat?
Right. And the timing was perfect. It hit the market just as the industry was screaming for more transparent, controllable, and cost-efficient alternatives to the closed-source giants.
That combination, transparency, control, lower costs, that must have had a huge effect on the developer community.
An immediate one. Developer notes from that time show adoption was incredibly rapid. It pretty much became the default base model for fine-tuning in any enterprise app where data privacy was a big deal.
If you wanted to keep your data local, Qwen 3 was the obvious choice by mid-2025.
It was the no-brainer.
That makes perfect sense.
Oh.
Okay, so once they proved stability and cost, the next question is always scale. Could they actually play in the same sandbox as the proprietary giants? Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, the scaling timeline that followed just completely solidified their status. They proved open source could match the most advanced systems in the world, full stop.
You could almost feel the mood shift.
Oh, reading the developer forums from back then, it was like panicked admiration.
Panicked.
Because of the speed. We're talking 3 massive releases, almost back-to-back. Qwen 3 235B dropped on July 25th, and it just reset the bar. Then, boom, Qwen 3 Max on September 5th, aimed at the highest-end reasoning.
And then another one right after that.
Not even a week later, Qwen 3 Next on September 11th was a clear message. We can innovate just as fast, maybe even faster than you.
That's a serious power move. But parameter count isn't the whole story anymore. We're deep in the era of multimodality. How did they handle that transition?
Well, they moved past that old approach of just, bolting on a vision model here, an audio model there. They achieved what the sources are calling native multimodality with the OmniFlash breakthrough.
What does native actually mean for a user or a dev?
For a user, it means seamless real-time voice and visual interaction. Investor reports explicitly said OmniFlash was the first open-source model to really rival GPT-4o's capabilities.
Yeah, the technical difference.
It's a unified architecture. A
Mhm.
single, consolidated transformer backbone processes all the modalities, text, audio, vision at the same time.
So one processing stream for everything. That must solve so many deployment headaches.
Exactly. It slashes complexity, it slashes inference overhead. You manage one engine, not three that are trying to talk to each other. And this wasn't just about understanding inputs.
You mean image generation.
Yep. They dropped Qwen Image 2512 at the same time. It immediately set a new open source record for text-to-image quality. The reports say they were laser-focused on human realism, getting hands right, getting lighting right.
Stuff that's always been hard.
The hardest stuff. They mastered high-performance comprehension and high-quality creation.
Okay, so it's one thing to build amazing tech. It's a whole other thing to open source it, to basically give your best IP away. That choice is what led Fortune magazine in September 2025 to call Qwen the Linux of LLMs.
It's the perfect analogy. By democratizing access, they didn't just get users, they built this massive, self-sustaining ecosystem. The global community became a force multiplier, finding bugs, building on top of it, and fine-tuning it for thousands of niche uses.
Let's put on a CTO hat for a second. Why would my company choose Qwen over a closed model? Especially if that closed model is maybe, a tiny bit better on some benchmark.
From a consultant's view, it's about two things: cost and control. The ability to deploy Qwen on-premise or in your own private cloud. That eliminates API dependency.
So no more spiraling API bills.
No more spiraling bills and, more importantly, no more sending your sensitive corporate data out to a third-party provider. Data sovereignty is everything now.
And because it's open, you have customization options that a closed API just can't offer.
Exactly. You can fine-tune Qwen 3 for something incredibly specific, like regulatory analysis in finance or diagnostic support in healthcare. You can't get that level of tailored performance from a general-purpose closed model.
But when you open up something so powerful, safety and ethics immediately become a huge concern. What did the deep dive say about their approach there?
They knew this was critical for enterprise trust, so they built a dedicated defense layer, Qwen 3 Guard.
A separate model.
A specialized safety model that achieved state-of-the-art performance on safety benchmarks. Its only job is to make sure prompts and responses stick to strict guidelines. It basically de-risks the deployment for big companies.
Performance, TCO, customization, safety, they really covered all bases.
Huh.
So let's get to the bottom line. What does this all mean in terms of actual market impact by the end of 2025?
From an investor perspective, Qwen became the undisputed dominant model in the entire Asian market. But, more importantly, it secured a top 3 spot globally for all generative AI deployments. Not just open source, all of them.
And that created that moat you mentioned.
The huge one. Giving away frontier performance for free puts immense, sustained pressure on any company whose business model is just API subscription.
And this wasn't just a software play. It also signaled a move into physical hardware.
That was the cherry on top. The launch of the Quark AI glasses in December 2025. This device leveraged everything they'd built: the efficient MoE, the low TCO, the unified multimodal processing.
So all those technical improvements paid off in a real consumer device.
They had to. Those glasses needed an AI that could run on the device itself on the edge with super low latency. Qwen 3's design was perfect for it. It was their big entry into wearable AI.
It all ties together from architecture to market strategy.
It does, and that's why the recommendation from industry consultants is so clear now. Organizations have to prioritize Qwen for core tasks where data sovereignty and long-term architectural control are critical. It lets you own your AI future instead of just renting it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the enduring legacy of 2025?
The legacy is this. Qwen is no longer just a model. It's a comprehensive AI platform. It fundamentally changed how the world accesses and deploys AI, finally bridging that gap between cutting-edge performance and true open-source freedom.
And looking ahead, the reports for 2026 point to more of the same: deeper hardware integration, more small language models for edge devices, and really sophisticated multi-agent systems. The foundation is built.
And now the era of mass, customized application begins. The democratization of high-performance AI was the single biggest impact of the year. Qwen's strategy essentially forced the whole industry to be more transparent just to keep up.
And that leads us to our final thought for you to think about. Since Qwen built this massive competitive moat by providing frontier performance for free, capturing the global developer base, What does this forced shift to transparency mean for the future business models of those closed-source giants? If the best, most customizable models are now free to deploy, how do those closed systems even generate revenue going forward? That's the question that really defines the entire landscape of 2026.